All right.
All
Well,
right.
welcome everyone. Uh, sure we'll have a few more people that pop in some point, but let's go ahead and get started. Um, I am going to be discussing, well, first of all, my name is James, and I am one of the founders here at FinerWorks. And I've spoken at several of these Zoom meetings. Melissa, my co-host, has also led several of our Zoom meetings as well. And today we are going to be discussing virtual inventory for FinerWorks and how it can be very useful to you. It's a great tool that I think that we developed a while back. And then we're going to talk about what it does and how it's used. And Melissa's also going to touch base on Geo Galleries because it is if you want to sign up with Geo Galleries, which is a gallery, an online curated gallery that we host at FinerWorks. Uh, it, Geo Galleries utilizes your virtual inventories, and Melissa will talk about how that works. So, so let's start by talking about virtual inventory and the history of virtual inventory. I would say probably about good 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, we at FinerWorks, we were constantly getting customers contacting us and saying, "Hey, I want to reorder this print. I want to reorder that print." And we had a way where they could reorder from their order history, but it had a lot to be desired. And it's that method is not always the most reliable because files would get purged over a period of time, and so people would place orders from their order history, but those files no longer were available. So we needed to come up with something where it felt was more consistent uh, for everyone, where we weren't going to be running into these sort of problems. So the idea of coming up with a virtual inventory was came up, and the concept was, let's have the customers or users, the FineWorks users, build their own product database within their account. And the idea was so that they could go and order from that product database whenever they wanted to. And we felt that this was the ideal solution. Now, we ran into a problem whereas before, users could upload any kind of file. They could upload TIFF, they could upload PNG, BMP, JPEG. At one point, we even allowed Illustrator and PSD files. But because those files were being purged over a period of time, we weren't accruing these huge costs of storage space and so forth. So we limited virtual inventory to only JPEG files. Now that's changed recently, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But the difference between the virtual inventory files, the files that are used as a basis for virtual inventory, and for the files before, there's two different types. There was a temporary file database, and there was an inventory file database. So going back to the main thing that I wanted to talk about here is what is the purpose, and that is for the ease of reordering. And then the integration aspect, and then there is, like I said, Geo Galleries. So with FinerWorks, we have two types of files. We have temporary files and we have inventory files. And I think this is where people get a little confused because we have these two different we have these two different file databases, and we initially called that was the temporary files, and we called them the stored files, but that created some more confusion. So we renamed that, as we see here, temporary files and inventory files. Now you can access this screen very easily by logging into your FinerWorks account and going to inventory files. And so that'll load up this section right here. Now, those files are stored indefinitely. You don't have to worry about them being lost or deleted over time. We're going to store those as long as as long as you want. You have full control as to when those files get deleted. The other type of file database that we have is temporary files, and links there or right here. Now these files get purged after a year. So if you want to create virtual inventory, you don't want to store files into your temporary files. You won't, actually, you can't. Now these files can be used to create products that you want to order. Say it's a one-of-a-kind product, a commissioned portrait, or a commissioned piece that you don't anticipate someone going back and you need to recreate or reprint that order, a year down the line. A lot of our Etsy users just use the temporary files, especially if they're doing, custom design work, let's say, for like anniversary gifts and portrait session, custom, digital paintings, portraits, what have you. But the Etsy users that are reselling their artwork, their photography, and they're reselling the same images over and over again, they're going to want to use their inventory files database. Now, you can click between the two tabs up here. Look, the interface is looking, virtually the same. It's just the content is different. And adding to your inventory files is very simple. It's just a matter of clicking Add Files, selecting the files, and I have some stock images here that I can select from. I'll just select this. I don't know what it is. Okay. And uploading file. Now, in the past, you could only upload JPEG files. Now, we made some changes to allow for some other file options, including TIFF, PNG, and bitmap. So you can now upload more than just the JPEG files. Now, if you are going to upload a TIFF or PNG file, just make sure that any transparencies are turned off, that there's no embedded layers. You can embed layers in TIFF files. Just keep the file as simple as possible. Now, once you add the file to you can add as many files as you want. You have the ability to make some changes to the settings of these files. Now, you can do it from here by clicking on Settings, and it opens up a screen where you have basically just data. And Melissa will go over this information when we touch on Geo Galleries a little bit later, because this is where this is very useful. Or if you're on the main website and you go to My Account and go to Inventory Files, you can do it from here. Just again, it's just two different ways to get to the same list of files. Now, with your inventory files, you can sort them by newest, pixel width, pixel height, name. You can control how many per page. I don't remember how many I have. Well, I guess a good handful here. I don't have 100, but I can show up to 100 per page. I can even increase the thumbnail size if I want to, which may make it easier for some people, especially if you have to wear reading glasses like I do now. Or you can show more make smaller thumbnails. Probably don't want to go that small. Now, once you have your files uploaded, you're ready to make your virtual inventory. Now, before we go into that, any questions that we need to address? Any questions that people
Yeah, I
might?
think we're getting one on Facebook. Can you transfer, this is a question we get a lot. Can you transfer temp files to inventory files, or do you need to re-upload them?
That's a great question, and that is one that is a project we are working on, because uh, and that's every day it seems we get that question.
Hmm.
Can I move my files over to inventory? Uh, yeah, we are working on that. I don't have a time frame as to when people will be able to do that. But it is on our radar. Hopefully sooner than later. It's a pretty simple process for us to do it. It's just we got a bunch of other things that we're working on right now, so it's just a matter of getting to that. You know.
So currently, right now, Sam, we do not have the ability to transfer, but hopefully, like I said, we'll get that. That's something we are looking at and working on. And when we do have that up, we'll have it up in our newsletter and our social.
Yeah, our goal at some point is to uh, combine the temporary file database and inventory database, so we're not having to deal with two different sets of images. We do still, obviously we accrue storage costs, so we have to work out, you know, how that is going to, play out, because we'll have users that'll, I mean, they'll come in, they'll upload, you know, uh, 10, 20, 100 megabyte files on the server, and then they just leave them there. They don't order anything. They don't print anything. They don't, they just post them, and they just get stuck there.
Yeah, it was like somebody
So
started their order, but didn't quite get to the making
yeah,
print.
so we need, so there's a lot of files that never get printed and just that stay there, and both in the temporary that so well that was the reason behind the purging of temporary files over a period of a year. But even with inventory, and but we want to get I guess a better handle as to uh, managing the accrual of all these files, which is every day. I mean, there's, I
It's a
don't know,
lot. Yeah,
gigabytes upon gigabytes upon gigabytes of
if not
probably
tera.
terabytes of
I think
files.
we're in terabytes now.
Yeah, I think so, on a daily basis.
Um, and so Sam, if you need to, yes, you will have to re-upload that into your inventory files right now. But I guess if you do have a certain file you need to get over, if you want to contact James or I, just go to melissa@finerworks.com and send me that information. I'll try to help you as best I can. Another question we have come in that we also get a lot of, James, and this is just a navigation thing. Gloria on Facebook is asking, how can I delete inventory files?
Okay, so thanks, Gloria, for that question. I'm going to actually show you how that's done, and it's very simple. Is you see above every thumbnail there's a checkbox. Just go ahead and click on that checkbox, and you'll see a little trash icon, and just click on that, and that'll delete the files.
And that is permanent, James, right? There is no edit undo if you
Correct.
accidentally delete
Correct.
that. So just be sure you want to do that.
That's that's one thing that has happened before, is people have accidentally deleted their inventory files, and that was I mean, that was the only copy that they had. You know, late, get a call or email a week later, say, hey, I accidentally deleted a file, and I thought I had a backup of it here, but I don't. And no, we just don't have access to it anymore. These files, by the way, they get stored on Amazon's web services, like uh, many of the file sharing companies. utilize Amazon's file storage system. Um, Obviously, this is not a file sharing application that we're talking about, but it does provide a secure location for your files. So Amazon actually hosts or has the infrastructure for us to be able to create these file databases for so many people. But anyway, so I hope, I guess that answered that question as far as how to delete the files. And so just make sure that before you click delete, that's exactly what you want to do, because once they're deleted, they're not only the record is actually still kept with us, but the record is made inactive, but the file itself is wiped clean from the Amazon server.
Yep.
Or the Amazon vaults, whatever you want to call them, storage vaults. Okay, so any questions on that?
Travis on our Zoom chat is asking, does Amazon have access to these files?
No. While they host the hardware, Amazon, just a little bit of information, Amazon hosts probably, well, a huge percentage of the web content out there. I'm not sure if they still, I believe at one point they even hosted Dropbox. I'm not sure if Dropbox now has their own infrastructure or not, but they may still even host Dropbox. But these files, Amazon doesn't have access to it per se. I mean, they have access to the hardware because they maintain the hardware. But this is what we call cloud storage, basically. Amazon is the biggest cloud storage provider. So whenever you are storing files in the cloud, Amazon, companies like Amazon, Google, the big tech companies, they're the ones that are actually hosting the files. Many people that have their own personal website, there's a good chance that those servers are actually hosted by Amazon, and not, even though you're using a web host, technically those servers reside with Amazon. That's where Amazon makes most of their money. Just it's not delivering products; it's actually hosting content on the web.
Kind of like a cell tower being used by different phone providers. Amazon's kind of like you're saying, the hardware.
Melissa reminded me this earlier, and that is the importance of uploading good quality files. Melissa, if you want to kind of chime in with the example that you gave a little bit earlier.
Yeah. I noticed there's a lot of people who are brand new to printing their art and have not looked into basically what it takes to have a quality digital capture of your art. I'll have people who maybe right click and copy paste an image from the web that used to have their art up, and that's maybe 420 by 625 or something pixels. We print at 300 DPI high, we want the highest resolution. So if you took those numbers and divide it by 300, you'd probably get like a 1.5 inch by 1.5 inch kind of a print. That would be the best. If you went bigger, it would look very pixelated. So somebody had pointed out when we've done Photoshop YouTube video here that you can kind of always, if you decide on what your max print you want to go ahead and have out. So if you're going to have out 16 by 20s, or if you're going to have like 40 by 60 on a canvas size, take that number and multiply it by 300. And that should give you roughly about how many pixels you want to have. And I would upload at your highest, like I said, your max size that you're going to offer in a print, so that resolution is good. And from there, making anything smaller is just going to come out nicer. You don't have to worry about your smaller size. It's just your large size that you want to make sure that you have the highest quality pixel resolution on there. So that
And
and phone pictures of your artwork sometimes won't work as well. I think you're looking about 2,800 pixels or so. And you want to make sure that a lot of, because of space, phones usually will save at 72 DPI rather than 300 DPI. So,
now, I will jump in here and say that the files themselves, now you can upload files up to a half a gig in size. There is potential that you will run into problems if, especially, uh, if that file requires too much RAM for our system, for one of our remote servers to actually be able to open, because even though the file is 500 megabytes, for us to open it and process it, generate thumbnails or what have you, generate previews, it could require, uh, you know, uh, just tons of RAM, and our servers aren't limitless. So there are instances where someone uploads an extremely large file, especially when they don't have, when they don't have to, and we just can't open the file.
mhm.
So just keep that in mind. So
It's a
upload
challenge.
while you want to upload the largest file possible, resolution wise. Uh, if you don't plan on printing anything bigger than, say, a 16 by 20 with that file, don't upload a 300 megabyte or 300 pixels per inch file, as a 30 by 40,
Mhm.
because it just, it not only our system might not be able to open it, but you might not, it's going to be just a huge file. Now that you can upload TIFF files, I know some people are concerned about compression that JPEGs offer. TIFF, as long as it's an uncompressed TIFF, it shouldn't be fine. Um, uh, but a TIFF is going to be a larger file, so you're more likely to hit that 500 megabyte limit if you're uploading a TIFF versus a JPEG. Um,
We have a question here from Shaylee on Zoom asking, what is the highest pixel resolution you can go, and should it always be 300 DPI, or can I go higher?
well,
You can address
yeah,
that, James.
yeah. Well, pixel resolution is kind of a relative number. Just keep that in mind. And I think that was what Melissa was basically saying a little bit earlier, is that if you set your image at 300 pixels per inch, it's 300 pixels per inch, but that's only half the story. It's 300 pixels per inch at 8 by 10 or at 16 by 20. 300 pixels per inch as an 8 by 10 is different than 300 pixels per inch at 16 by 20. And I'll show a quick example in Photoshop, what I mean, how that changes. And I'm going to make this part real quick because I don't want to get too far off on a tangent, but I do know that this is a question that comes up quite a bit. Keep in mind that your image file consists of pixels, X number of pixels across, Y number of pixels down. So, a 300 pixel per inch image, or DPI, people call it, as an 8 by 10 would be, well, you times 300 times 8, which gives you 2400, and then by 3000. So if I come over here and I create, here we go. So I'm going to create a document that's 300, or I'm sorry, I'm going to go inches. I'm going to go 8 by 10. I'm going to set the resolution at 300. Okay. Now, if I come over here and I change the image size, I'm gonna uncheck resample, so I'm not actually sizing up. If I change it to 16 by 20, notice how the resolution drops. And so the idea behind this is when you upload your file, okay, if your file, if it's only 8 by 10 at 300 pixels per inch, there's no sense in enlarging it and making a higher resolution because our system's going to do that anyway if it has to. So keep it at its original resolution is probably the one way to look at it. So if your file is an 8 by 10 at 300 pixels per inch, don't worry about it if you plan on printing something like a 16 by 20. While the resolution will drop, it won't drop down enough for it to have a huge impact on the print quality. Now, that same file, if you wanted to store that in your virtual inventory as, say, I don't know, let's say a 30 by 40, that might be a little bit too much because or 30 by 37, it's not an exact same aspect ratio, but you know, a much larger print, your resolution is going to automatically drop. So that's what I mean by resolution is relative to the width and height. I hope that, Shailene, I hope that kind of clarified your question or answered your question.
Excuse me. So you're saying that if we want maximum accuracy and detail and everything else, we should load in a 30 by 40 at 300. And if we get something cut down to an 8 by 10, it's still gonna look okay, right? It's still gonna be.
Yeah. Thanks. You're not going to lose anything whenever you downsample. It's when you upsize that you start losing quality. Your image starts to become pixelated because the software has to, programs like Photoshop, or if you're exporting it out of Lightroom or what have you, they're doing a process called resample, which if I change this to 300, it's adding a bunch of pixels up here which weren't originally there. Now, if I keep it at its original, you see how the dimensions drop, the pixel dimensions drop. But whenever you add pixels, you're expanding it. You're having to fill in those gaps, and the software. And then there's good software out there that's good at running these algorithms to figure out what those pixels should be, so that the image doesn't look too artifacty or too pixelated. But the greater the extreme, the lower the clarity in that print. Now, just one thing to keep in mind: if you're a photographer, don't get too hung up on that. Very few cameras are going to shoot at such a resolution where when you blow it up to a 30 by 40, you're going to have, you know, the same sharpness that you get when you're printing that image as a 5 by 7. Not to mention that you're, you know, unless you're using a really, really good lens and have your, you know, all your settings just right, you know, you're going to have that lens fall off anyway in most cases. So it's going to, you're going to, with photography, almost every image we see, regardless of the resolution that people supply, it's a little soft. Now, when you're talking about scanned artwork, it's a little bit different because and those are the files that get really, really big, or digital artwork where it's created at these massive resolutions. Though those are situations where if you have the big file and you can upload it, go ahead, okay? But don't increase the size and upload to your virtual inventory if you don't have to, because when we print that image from your virtual inventory, we have these advanced resizing algorithms with our printing software that will do an excellent job. And so there's no sense in you uploading files larger than they need to be. You can still create a 30 by 37.5 inch print from this file that was originally, optimal for an 8 by 10, but just understand that the larger you go, you start to get a degradation in quality. And I'll show you in Post, which is our online setup tool, how you can check your image resolution here in just a minute. So we talked about inventory files. Now we need to talk about the actual product inventory. Okay. Now, product inventory we call it virtual inventory for good reason, because it doesn't exist. It's bits of data, it's ones and zeros. We at FinerWorks are what we call a print on demand company. In other words, people, we don't stock a bunch of prints and keep them on shelves and wait for people to order them. We print them after people order them. So as a result, having a product database normally would not make sense, but it does make sense in some respects because when it's virtual, because it lets you save that combination of product details from size, print style, media type, and so forth. So to access, or first to create inventory files, or inventory products, you will need to create your inventory files, upload some files. Now, just start with one just to kind of get an idea, but we uploaded a file earlier, but I'll just go ahead and do it again. Select a file. And I'll select a different file than last time. So, and this is just some stock imagery that I pulled from our Shutterstock account. Once you upload your file, again, under inventory files, you'll click on the Create Print button. Now, the Create Print button opens up a web-based application that we designed called Post. Some of you photographers out there, you're familiar with probably Rose. Post is our own in-house, Rose-like system, but it's tied in directly with some of the software that we run to process print orders, and it connects directly with our database. And we're always working on it, always trying to improve it. It's hard to maintain an application like this, but it allows people to see get an online proof, so to speak, of the print or product that they want us to print. And Post is a tool that you will need to use to set up your virtual inventory, because it allows you to choose the available options for the type of print that you want. So in this case, I'm going to select since fine art paper prints, G-clay prints is the majority of the type of products that we produce. I'm going to go ahead and select fine art paper prints. And you can always click the help icon up here, and it gives you gives you a little bit more information as far as what these choices are. In this case, I'm going to select a media type. I'm going to select the, let's say the
paper velvet.
yeah, the watercolor bright white, which is almost overnight become our most popular fine art paper. We added it over to the summer, and we wiped out the. It's not made here in the U.S. I think it's made in France. Not positive, but I think it's made here in France. But within 1 month, we wiped out the nation's inventory of from our distributor. There's one distributor in the U.S. and we wiped out their inventory. So we had a little bit of a shortage for a short while. Anyway, so that's the paper type. And again, you can always get some details. Click on the magnifying glass. I clicked on the different paper here, but it'll give you some information. The photos are, they probably need to be redone. We try to show a little bit of the detail of the paper. This here. Yeah, so what we're called right. So if you really want to know what these papers look like, I would suggest ordering one of our sample kits. The sample kits cost $20, but they do include a $20 gift card, so you get that money back basically. But it'll let you actually feel and see and feel the different fine art papers that we offer. And we have close to 20 different fine art papers. And so deciding what is going to best complement your artwork, your photography, the sample kit, which can be ordered, on our website is a great place to go. Anyway, so once you select your media, you'll then select the style. In this case, and we have borderless to 2-inch border to we have decal edged prints, artboard mounted, die bond, and then gator board. Keep in mind with these bordered prints, that border is extra. So in this case, let's say I select I'm going to select a 12 by 12. Okay. That 12 by 12 is from this spot, from the boundaries of the actual image and not the boundaries of the paper. So when you have a 1-inch extra border, that's the extra border added. So your actual cut sheet size is going to be, well, you add 1 inch plus 1 inch, so 12 is going to be 14 by 14. We're in a update that we're going to be doing this week. We're going to actually be putting that information right above the print. But a lot of people get confused by that. They think, oh, extra border, that's going to be inside that 12 by 12 inch area. And so, so just to kind of clarify, and again, we're going to post more information about that within this post tool so that it's more obvious. But there's nothing like ordering a 12 by 12 print and getting the cut sheet as 14 by 14 but have a 12 by 12 inch frame and trying to figure out how you're going to fit it in that frame. So, just keep that in mind. There is this, and this is a little bit of a glitch that we have in the system. There is a color correction service that we offer, but it is not available for virtual inventory. So if you select yes, it's not going to do anything. These optional things may or may not, in some cases, be available in virtual inventory. Some of these options are like temporary things or things that we don't want people to be able to store permanently because we can't anticipate whether or not they're going to be available down the line. So we'll sometimes throw in these options. But for fine art paper prints, just kind of focus on the media style and the size. You can choose frames. You can frame and mat your print and store that in your virtual inventory. Generally, our frame choices and mat choices have we rarely run into situations where they go out of stock. Every now and then, we did have one recently that just out of the blue, our frame molding supplier said it was no longer available. The virtual inventory products that are stored with those, we try to we remove those when that happens. So, but it's rare. Media paper types, I can't think of when we have discontinued one. It's been forever. So that too is a very rare thing to happen. But more about actually how to use the post tool. We have a video up here. You can click on that and it'll take you to YouTube where you can actually see all the workings of using post. But in this case, I'm going to go ahead and select a frame anyway, just for fun. And I'm going to select out of these collections. I'm going to go to the Rustique.
Do the frames come with any kind of a hanger, wire on the back or anything?
Yeah, whenever a print, a virtual inventory item is actually physically produced and shipped to you, or you have it shipped to your customer, we attach all the appropriate hanging hardware.
Okay.
Depending upon the size of the frame and the weight, it's going to either be a sawtooth hanger or a wire hanger. Usually it's a wire hanger. Some cases with very heavy frames, we'll use these two keyhole hangers that go on the side of the frame. But more often than not, it's a wire hanger. The sawtooth hangers aren't really that good for anything much bigger than maybe an 8x10. So from here, I'll just go ahead and select this frame right here. And it gives you a preview of what your print will look like with frame. Now, just keep in mind with these previews, these previews, you can always right click on these and you can copy these. If you want to use these previews on your website, you're more than welcome to do so. After all, it is your artwork, it is your photography. But these mock-ups that the system creates, by all means, save them to your hard drive, to your heart's content. Use them, Facebook, Instagram, your website, whatever, wherever you need. And just right click and it's just a matter of save image as. Then in this case, I'm going to select a matte. Our most popular, Snow White. Okay, and it automatically, when you do that, it'll automatically increase the frame size. Now, whenever you're doing a frame print, you really don't have to worry too much about the border of your print because that's going to be either trimmed away to fit in the frame or it's going to be hidden behind the mat. As in, this has a 1-inch border. Well, it's behind this mat, and I'll select a different color mat so you can kind of get a better idea of what I mean here. Okay, and then glazing is automatic. However, you can deselect it. Glazing is basically acrylic. It's a clear acrylic paint. We don't use actual glass because well, glass breaks during shipping. But we use some very good quality acrylic provided by one of the leading frame molding suppliers in the country. So and now I guess that's really all I need. Down here I can see how much that print would cost me if I were just to order it, but I'm not ordering it in this case. I'm just going to save it to my inventory. But before I do that, I want to come over here and show this to you. Okay. Now, this right here is something called your product code. Now, that's a long string of numbers, and there is each one of these numbers do mean something. They're a series of ID numbers and numbers to indicate the size. But these product codes, as we'll talk about in a little bit, are going to be very useful for if you are importing orders from Etsy or Shopify or even an Excel spreadsheet. These product codes are utilized because they tell us exactly. The only thing that's missing within this product code is what the file is that needs to be printed. But it tells us that it's a 12 by 12 watercolor bright white paper print. The frame name, the dimensions of the frame, the matte choice, and the glazing. It also tells, in this case, color correction is not an issue, an option, but it would tell us if color correction was chosen as well. We'll talk a little bit more about product code shortly here. The other thing I wanted to show you, I'm going to go ahead and click on the image. We talked about resolution, and you can actually see what this file comes in as a 12 by 12. The crop size, in this case, we have a perfect fit. You don't always have a perfect fit. Let's say you try to fit a rectangular image in a square print size, you're not going to have an exact fit, but your print size or your crop size is 12 by 12. In this case, it's a perfect match. The image matches the same aspect ratio, so it's 12 by 12. But if it's printed as a 12 by 12, it's only going to be come in to us as 266 pixels per inch, which means our system is going to have to resample it up to 300 pixels per inch. Whenever we resample up, you do run the risk of losing a little bit in the quality. From 266 to 300, the amount is hardly worth mentioning. So you're really not going to see the difference. But if this pixel per inch count was say 80 pixels per inch as a 12 by 12, then there's a potential for you to notice that pixelation, that lack of clarity that you otherwise might have. So this is where you can do it. And again, all I did is I clicked on the image to pull that information up. Now I can change the file if I decide I want to use a different file. I can go ahead and come over here and I can select, I'll select this image instead. Now, it won't change any of the options that I already selected. It'll just change the image. That product code, now I don't expect y'all to have remembered all those numbers, but this product code has remained the same. The only thing that's changed is that image. And this is what I mean by the image size is 12 by 15, but the crop size, the square, is still 12 by 12. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to save this to my inventory. Okay, and I have an option to view inventory. Now, I can go back and I can create a different product with the same image or change the image out. I don't have to go view the inventory. I can, matter of fact, a lot of people, what they'll do is if they have a series of images up, they'll say, okay, I want to change this file now, and I'm going to go back to that one. I'm going to save that one to inventory as well. And so they'll keep on going back to to make a series of products. Now, what I'm going to do here, oh, something didn't do right. Let me fix that. There we go. I'm going to save to inventory. So you can go back and you create a bunch of products. Now we do also have a batch print tool. It's a little kind of a little buggy at times. It seems every time we think we have that working perfect, something comes up. But the batch tool lets you select a bunch of files in your inventory, like I'm doing here. I already made that product. And then add selected. And gives it a moment. And then voila, creates all these products. Now it'll crop all these and you can go and adjust that. It'll crop them all centered, but you can go adjust the cropping later if you need to. Now I'm going to save these to my inventory. And again, it takes a moment. The more files it has to process, the longer it takes, but it shouldn't take.
We had a few questions while that's doing that. We had somebody who asked on the PNG files, is a DPI of 150 okay for their files? Will they still get, I guess, as nice of a resolution as if it was 300?
Well, the file format, whether it be PNG, TIFF, JPEG, the resolution, the file format doesn't have an impact on the resolution. All image files are basically the same, regardless of the format. They're X number of pixels across and Y number of pixels down. Okay, so resolution deals with the pixel count and not the file format. Are there advantages to certain file formats over others? Yes. For instance, a JPEG is a compressed image file. It's basically a compressed bitmap. TIFFs have features that JPEGs don't, or bitmaps don't. But when it comes from a printer's perspective, it comes down to the fact that it's about how many pixels across and how many pixels down the file contains, and not so much the file format.
Yeah. So you could actually just do the same thing, 150 DPI, and multiply that by your inches, and that would give you like your resolution there. Another question you got was, how do you know if you need color correction, which we actually have a long blog on, but and that might be a whole thing, but they were asking about color correction, but as it's really not a choice so much in inventory files, is it best to go ahead and I'll just send them the blog link for our
Yeah, I think so. Color correction is a feature that it's kind of a mixed bag for us, since we do so many art reproductions of people's printed artwork. We do a lot of photography print. We are a photo lab as well, but it's almost like I don't know what it is now, but probably a 70-30 split between artwork and photography. Color correction is great and easy to do with photography, but much more challenging with artwork, because artwork tends to be a little bit more interpretive, a little bit more subjective, whereas photography, not that photography is not subjective, and not that it's not interpretive, but this frog, I know it is supposed to be green. Okay, we have people that submit abstract images to us and they check the color correction option. Now our system does with color correction, it's a two-part process. It is there's a series of algorithms that do some auto correction and so forth, and white balancing, and then one of our printer technicians in the second phase looks at that image and says, okay, does any additional adjustments need to be made? Does it look like it did a good job? And if it didn't, make those manual corrections. So that's why if you do color correction with a lab and they actually have people that physically do color correction, it may print one way the first time and then look a little bit different the second time if you choose color correction. Same with us. So just kind of keep that in mind with your selection of color correction. But going back to artwork, yeah, I mean, if you submit an abstract painting for us that's to be reproduced, is it achieving the exact teal color or blue that you're looking for? Chances are no, because we don't know what the original looks like. And if your image file, is not, when it was not captured well, or we're not going to be able to. It's really just kind of a throw of the dice whether or not how accurate we are with our color correction in that case. So just kind of keep that in mind. Did that answer that question?
Yeah, I believe so. And the last question I have here that we do get quite a lot in Geo Galleries, and the answer really is no on this one. Is there a way just to replace the image and retain the inventory that was made for that image? So like, let's say somebody uploaded an image and they realized, oh my gosh, there's actually a section of that was maybe blurry due to the lens that caught it. So I want to upload, but I already have 35 inventory pieces assigned to that image. Can they replace the image and retain the inventory?
No, there is not an automatic just kind of swap out. There is a shortcut though that is helpful. That I'll show you in just a moment. But no, that could lead to a lot of really bad things to happen when it comes to us printing, especially that files, not that, you wouldn't upload the exact same or a file with the exact same specs, dimensions and resolution, but it gets really kind of awkward if there's some differences in, say, that the pixel count or what have you, because there's a project file that's saved with that virtual inventory item, or not a project file, but some project data that's stored in the database. So we know exactly when that print's ordered, our software knows exactly how to crop that image, how to position that image, and all the selections that are chosen. So which is why we don't have a ability to really do that very easily. So let me go to the view inventory now. And I've already saved these to the inventory. And we can now see look at all those frame prints there. Wow. Now this one didn't crop very well. So I'm going to click on that. And I'm going to make some quick adjustments here to kind of, so this little guy can be seen. And I'm going to click back and update. And I probably could have done better, but I think y'all get the point. And let's go back and look. See, there he is. Okay. So all these products are, I saved that one several times, I guess. All these products are there. Now, going back to that question about kind of swapping out the image. Now, we did add a really kind of a nice, cool little feature just the other day. so that you don't have to go through that entire selection process. Remember that product code? I'm going to click this product code right here. And it gives me a blank, an empty image area. Now I can select, come over here. I don't think we did one of this image. And it probably wasn't the best image to choose from, but oh well. Bring that up there a little bit. Made some quick adjustments, but obviously, hopefully you won't have to do that. But I'll save that one to the inventory, and I have a brand new frame print in my inventory.
Yeah, that's great. What's one way to do that?
Yeah. So if you need to swap out an image, what I would do is just click on those product codes for that particular.
The new image.
Yeah, and just apply the new image to it.
Are you able to see all of that, James, if you go to inventory files and you look at the product virtual inventory for that particular image? Is that one way? Is it just to make sure that you got all of the different inventory items per image? Like right now, this view shows the different images with this, but within this view, they can all be scattered, and it's like one file that you update.
Yeah, and there's probably needs to be, we've been looking at it, kind of a little bit of a better improved navigation structure to this, but I'm going to go to my inventory files, and I'm going to select, I'm going to click on settings, and then I'm going to go over here and say products virtual inventory, and it just shows me the virtual inventory products for that particular image file, that inventory file. So these are my products. This is my inventory file.
And then that product code is it right there on the right.
Yeah.
So if they wanted to make sure they're getting all of the images, all of the inventory for that image switched over, this might be a nice linear way of looking at it.
Yeah. Again, I think we could probably improve upon that, but for now, that's what you would have to do.
Okay. Good to know.
Come over here, and again, you can come over, click on my inventory, and it gives you your entire database of products. Now let me just kind of show you what this interface is. This database, just kind of show the different features. Very simple, very easy. But this checkbox allows you to add multiple items to your cart. So if you want to quickly order these, you can, or you can always delete them. And when you delete them, they're gone forever. But it's just data. So you can always recreate that data. It's not you're not really losing anything. So again, it's these check boxes here. Okay, so you can either use the add the cart, or you can just add them individually. Now this quantity, and I had to kind of remind Melissa about this. This quantity is not is not how much you have in stock. Some people have asked, hey, is there a way for me to keep a inventory level? There is no inventory level option at this time where you can say, hey, well, I've used up all my what I want to offer for that particular print. You kind of have to keep track of that yourself, unfortunately. So this quantity is just, if I say 6 and I add to cart, that's how many copies of this will be added to my cart. You can click here to go to the actual print file, the inventory file, if you want. I'm sorry, I'm telling the wrong thing. That modifies the actual virtual product. So if I want to, change out the image, or I want to change out the crop positioning, or change out the the product options, such as I'm going to use a different frame. I can do that through modify print. This is what edit info lets you name this particular product. So if you want to call it old car, 14 or 12 by 12 in frame with matte, you can. And let's say you haven't, it's just a way for you to label it yourself, however you see fit. What I wanted to show you is this inventory file. This was supposed to be a hyperlink. Don't know why it's not working right now, but it used to be a hyperlink, so you can go pull up this particular, oops. So it would take you basically, wrong screen.
Settings.
Take you to the settings, yeah, okay. So it would essentially take you to this screen. So I got to figure out why that's not coming up as a hyperlink, but we'll probably have that resolved within the next day or two. Some of this information is exactly how, if you order from FinerWorks, this is how it usually appears in your shopping cart. Just has some information, tells you the approximate time frame. Again, this is approximate how long it takes for us to produce the item. That number is a very fluid number, or at least
framing.
Yeah, with framing. Frame moldings. We keep so much molding in stock. It's crazy how much we have, but we go through it like you wouldn't believe, and so sometimes we have to order it from our supplier. Fortunately, they have warehouses in Texas, but they don't deliver it to us the next day. They only deliver it to us once a week, so it kind of that's why just kind of those days can be a little bit fluid, but we try to keep as close to them as possible. During the COVID, during the height of the lockdown, it was real crazy because we relied on our vendors to get stuff to us, and our order volume was skyrocketing, and it was just really hard to get to stay within those production timeframes. Last thing I want to mention before I turn this over to Melissa is the SKU. Now, this SKU is unique. It's unique to your account ID, and the print ID. And this SKU, if you are utilizing one of our integration apps, is the glue that brings your FinerWorks products and your Shopify or your Etsy products together. So that is the code that is going to link your listings on your website or your on Etsy or Shopify or Squarespace to your virtual inventory. So when you use one of our import apps, we'll know exactly what item to produce and ship. So and just real quick, I'll do our we actually host an Etsy shop. Kind of just our little secret. Don't tell anyone, but we own an Etsy shop, and we set this up a while back so that we could really gain some insight from a user's perspective. But in this case, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do it real quick. and I'm going to start importing some Etsy orders and show you where that product code, if you haven't added that, not product code, that
Integration.
into your listings, you can still utilize it. I'm going to import. Who knows what's going to import here? Okay, so here I'm using the Etsy app. Here I can paste. Oh, well, actually, I'll put that one there. Add product. And it knows, and this is an item that I have in my a virtual inventory item. And I just pull that, and then I can submit my order. So, but you can pre-populate your Etsy listings, your Shopify listings with that SKU. It'll save you the process of actually entering that information, as I just did right there. So just wanted to show you guys that and how the importance of that SKU. Now on our, I go into more detail on our, I'll just show you guys real quick. A little bit of reference material on our, actually, let me just show you how to get to it.
If you go to FinerWorks.com and just go, yeah.
Go to support and then go to our blog. So you should just type in the URLs, and I'm typing virtual inventory. I put together an article. It's a little bit over a year old, but talks about integrating your sites with virtual inventory. Are you using virtual inventory to create virtual inventory prints? Some of the things on the interface may look a little bit different in some of the examples here, but it's basically the same thing. This one that I just clicked on that should be the very first one if you type in virtual inventory on our support site, talks about how it binds your virtual inventory with your products on Etsy or Shopify, etc. And so that SKU over here, that's what we're providing you, so you can do that with. Now, any questions before I turn this over to Melissa, because I want to give her about 15 minutes to talk about how virtual inventory is useful with or is used with Geo Galleries.
And actually, this is a good question, James, which we can kind of go into a little bit here as it's tied in. It says, how can you bring FinerWorks inventory over to a non-Etsy site like Pixpa, or for example?
Okay, so
Go to integrate.
So how can you?
I guess that they're asking, how do they import their orders from non-Etsy sites? Which,
Well,
if you go to integrate, we have a couple of different options like the Excel.
Yeah, so some of it's going to depend upon the site itself that you are, the tools that it offers. For instance, WooCommerce, very popular shopping cart system, which we don't really support directly. It has a place where you can put your product, where you can put your FinerWork SKU. It has a SKU field for your products or your product variants within WooCommerce. Variants are product options. So let's say you have a different frame prints, and so you put the different SKUs and the different versions of that frame print. And with WooCommerce, it has plugins where you can export your image, or you can export your order data, and it will include in one of the columns, you can tell it to export that SKU. So you have that data. You'll then need to utilize our Excel spreadsheet import option. You'll have to redesign or relabel those columns to match the templates that we have, or the template that we have. You can download the template here. What I did is I went to my account Excel and help setting up your Excel spreadsheet, and it gives you the documentation for that. It's a little bit of a it's easy to do once you do it a few times, but it's a little it's not the most intuitive system. But it is an option for if you're using a shopping cart that we don't currently support. There is a system out there called Order Desk, which integrates with a lot of shopping cart systems, and then can export, or that will allow you to create the Excel document in the format that we require. That's something that you could also look at as well. We have a growing number of users that are using Order Desk, and I think on a daily basis, we're probably processing, 50 or so orders that are submitted from people using Order Desk. So I know it works. I don't have a lot of experience with it personally.
We also have, going along that line with our integrations, when setting up the API, should it be set for read and write or read only?
Well, the API is different methods within that API. Some methods are read only, some are write. So I'm not sure I'm understanding the question, because our APIs aren't really read write, or at least in our case.
Yeah.
I
I don't know if you want to click on integrate just so they can see the different options that we do have.
Okay. So Geo Galleries, and Melissa will go into that. Order Desk is that program that I was talking about. It kind of brings all these shopping cart systems together. So if you're selling, let's say you have a Shopify site and you have an Etsy store, and it allows you to kind of manage all your orders from one central location, but it lets you export those orders into the Excel document format that we need. As far as the API, I guess if you could send an email to customer care at FinerWorks.com, say it's an API question, and hopefully I can answer a little bit better, but I'm not sure if I'm understanding the question.
Yeah, Tony, if you'll go ahead and shoot us a customer service, you can either do
Is he watching on Facebook or Zoom?
On Facebook.
Okay.
I'll send him the email there, and have him send you that question. And
okay. All right.
get that better. So this was on Squarespace. It asked what permissions I want to give read and write.
Oh yeah. It should automatically be, it should have everything already kind of pre-selected, because when we the way it's set up is, or at least the way it's supposed to be set up, is when you authorize Squarespace, it should have those choices pre-selected. If it's not, let us know. I do know that we need to have, we don't write anything to your order, so so if it's prompting whether or not to give read and write access, we don't need write access, but we do need read access for your orders.
All right, Tony. I hope that answers your question.
I know it's can be kind of a lot of information, but at least kind of briefly touch on the integration, virtual inventory integration with Geo Galleries, and then show them where they can get more info. And I'm going to turn the screen over to you right now.
Okay. And I want to just say, Geo Galleries is great. Was we used to have a gallery platform before, and this has just made it so we can now let our customers basically sell their prints through Geo Galleries, and you have, like I said, all those options that we showed on our inventory here. So let me get into there and share my screen. Okay, and I am in one of our artists that I work with. So he's my constant guinea pig for account stuff here. But with the inventory, as we discussed, there's different types of inventory. When you go ahead with integration here, you have to have a FinerWorks account first. Do not sign up at geogalleries.com. That'll give you a buyer's account. You'll just kind of click on to learn more, and it'll go through, because this account's already linked up. You'll normally see here the licensing agreement. Read through that. There's some frequently asked questions here. When you come into, go back to our dashboard, just so when you log into your FinerWorks account, and you'll notice that you are on FinerWorks because of the logo. And on the side, you can click on Geo Galleries once you've accepted the licensing. Click on Geo Galleries, you'll notice that the logo does change here in the dashboard. But you can work really on your virtual inventory on either or, because we are connected to FinerWorks. With inventory, I always tell people the best way to go through is through files. Again, your inventory files.
You won't see the temp files there like
Yeah.
before. So.
And as we said, it's very easy to add, upload. When we talked about the quality, 300 DPI, and at the max size that you're going to go ahead and provide for that image. Once you've uploaded, you can go ahead on settings. I do have a workflow. Sometimes I do recommend people on your side when you're saving your files, if you want to, especially if you end up using the sort option here to kind of navigate through here. Because you'll have maybe your inventory files for an Etsy shop, maybe your Geo Galleries, maybe file naming them as GG if you want to. So that's something somebody brought up as a tip in one of our inventory discussions. But when you get to those files, you get here to your display tab. And the first thing you want to check on here is your pixel resolution. Most files, like if you're doing like I said, 300 multiplied by like an 8x10, if that's the largest size you're going to offer, you just want to make sure that pixel resolution is good. If you see something, I want to say under 1800 pixels, it's probably not going to show. It's probably a little low res. The other thing is, by default, when you upload, you will have your file name that you see here. Please change that so that it doesn't read that, especially if you're somebody who, like me here, you add in your file name, you add in your size of your print. Don't, because especially if you're going to offer smaller size, it's confusing to the customer. It appears here on Geo Galleries. So all that information you're writing on your Geo Galleries thing is going to start to appear right here. So you want to make sure this does not read like a file name, and that you go ahead and update it to look like a title on here. You want to make sure this is by default, it's going to be at show. I sometimes put it at hide while I'm working, because once you fill in these fields, it will become active with default inventory. And I'll explain the default inventory in just 1 second. So I keep that on right now, leave it on show. You'll have to have about, I think now it's kind of bumped up a little bit, James, because I think we had it at 20 characters, but it seems like you're having to type in about 30 characters now to make it appear. This ranking system is from our old gallery platform, and you really don't have to mess with this at all. This may come into play later. We might have the ranking system by viewers and as customers come to look. But right now, it has nothing to do with anything as it appears on Geo Galleries, so do not worry about it. You have to decide on a gallery that you want to go ahead and put this in. So we'll just say right now, Let me just put this in life or something. So select a gallery. The galleries appear on Geo Galleries as categories for people shopping around. Again, those are just some categories that people traditionally look at to search for art, especially if they don't know exactly what they want to buy. So that's why those are there. We do get requests to get more niche on those. Really don't want to go that niche. I know you're thinking, some people are like, I have calligraphy on a cat. I want a category or gallery specifically for calligraphy on a cat. You don't really want to get that niche. You want to try and look for stuff that maybe that will apply to, so it actually gets more new eyes on your product. And you also have to go ahead and make sure you put a collection. When you first start, you probably won't have a collection set up. I just usually hit update settings to save what I've done up here. You can click on that little question mark and it'll take you to manage collections to create your collections on there. Okay, and once you have that set up, you have all of those parameters on here. I'll put in, go into here and just copy some stuff. And as you can see here, when you create our inventory, you'll have this thing that says artist exclusive. When you do that, the default inventory normally appears down here as additional purchase items. But if you're just, if you go ahead and create 3 inventory items, that will get rid of that default inventory. And I'll explain default inventory here in 1 second. So let me get that. Let me put this in here just to show you how this will appear.
And while you're doing that, let me just answer a couple questions.
Okay.
One was, what do they mean by typing 30 characters to appear? So in the description of your gallery image, your inventory file, you want it to. We don't want just the short, description like a rock on the beach. That we want these images to not only to tell a story with their imagery, but we want the potential buyers to hear from the artist's words what this image means. So we don't want you to write a book, but we want you to put some thought into the description. Mm-hmm. In this case, it's a little bit
well, this one, and actually what I did here for this artist, they really didn't have a lot that, they're like, well, it's a collage piece on paper. It was done in maybe 2013 and that's all they had. So I put that, but then what I went ahead and did, because this particular artist only likes one particular paper for his prints to be done on, which is the fine art paper, fine art velvet paper. So that's why I said, okay, well, if you want to do that, if you want to just give a description even on what the products are below, that's fine. So in this case, that's what this person did. They kind of talked about the paper, and they talked about the canvas prints that they sell, and they just copied the verbiage off of FinerWorks to get the description of the actual media. They also went into description on the framing.
So basically, it's a place for the artist to really
give narrative
on to exactly to again, we don't want it to, we want people to read it, and we want people to part of selling artwork is building an emotional bond with that potential buyer. And artwork is sells very easily online, and it's also very difficult to sell online. So it's the approach that the platform takes to selling that plays a role. And if you just post artwork, you might get a sale here and there, but if you really put some thought in the title and the description, then it's going to attract more potential buyers. Now, the other question is, what if the product fits more than one category, or in this case, what if the image fits more than one category? Yeah, At some point, we do plan on making it possible for you to assign multiple categories. When I say multiple, possibly one or two additional categories, or assign an image to multiple collections. We're still just kind of trying to figure out, all the pros and cons and doing that, and how to best, make that happen. But that is on the radar as well sometime.
And I would just go ahead and suggest, go ahead and pick the category that makes most sense. If there is a cat in there, you don't see cat in the category, maybe animal. Just kind of, just use your best kind of thing. That we do have things because like cats, dogs are, commonly searched animals. So like I said, these are common search terms for art. But if you're doing like say zebras and there's no zebra here for the category, go ahead and select animals. Just, just kind of think of it overall and really in a layman's term, kind of what's the first thing somebody notices when they look at that piece. Like I said, something like this, it's very with collage art and stuff where it's kind of more on wit and words. I just put these under life and let people kind of find it through there. Well, other pieces I may put under animals because there might be an animal um, more, of the forefront on the piece. So that's something that you can do with your gallery and your gallery thing. And remember, you can go ahead and make collections on your page. So you can say if you're doing a whole thing of zebras, you can make animals as the category, but within here you could have a collection that you've titled zebras and that focuses maybe on just zebras.
Yeah, one of the advantages that we have in hosting this site, FinerWorks hosting Geo Galleries, is that we get to see the analytics of when of the traffic that comes to the site, and the how the sales are funneled. And most of the sales are not from people. Most of the buyers are not browsing the categories, those main categories. What they're doing, they're actually finding, they're browsing the different collections of the various artists. And occasionally they go browse the categories, but really they're looking at the collections that the artist has established, and they're browsing those. So the categories are great, but the collections are where it's at.
And that's also because we are a new site, and I think a lot of our traffic being drawn is through our social share buttons here. And on First Fridays, a lot of the artists right now are pushing on sharing their pages through social, so they kind of come in through a collection or right into an artist page. So that may be that, and we'll probably see that 2020 is kind of an asterisk here. We'll see what the data shows next year, especially as advertising kind of goes in there. But as I was explaining, when you first create this and you make it active by filling out all of those must-have fields, and you get here, you'll have, if you haven't created any inventory, you'll notice that the coding here makes additional purchase options. And these are kind of just automatically rendered inventory items. With some cases, it goes with the canvas as a gallery wrap. And in a lot of cases, people's art or photos are not made for that gallery wrap. Like we have people who have a whole group of people and you're getting your face cropped here on the edge on a lot of it, or the image just was not made for that gallery wrap. You probably need more of a color siding. But with these, the prices on here are also set at the lowest asking price, which when you create product, you'll start to see those kind of disappear. So if you create 3, this will go away. These are not editable. You cannot get in here and make any changes to them. So you do have to create your own inventory. And for that, you would just go here, add new inventory. I should have picked an easier one that I knew. But let's go ahead and do paper. And 3 items can be 3 different sizes of the same media. It can be one size in different media, whatever you want to do. So on here, I'll put fine art velvet. On here, let's go ahead and give it a 1-inch border on custom size. Now, I mean, I'm just as bad with aspect ratio, but I'm just going to pick something really quick on here and I'll see if it's not terribly cut off. You can see that here it's kind of cut off. So I might go ahead and do custom size and maybe do that at 18. This maybe at
18 by 13 might.
Yeah, so I'm thinking too. And then that gives me a little bit better on there. And if I need to, again, you can always go play with the crop. This shows you exactly how much is out of there. I might actually even go back to do that at 18 by 14.
Yeah. I'll do 18 by 15.
15.
Yeah, try. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, that's the thing. If it's aspect ratio, don't beat yourself up too much with aspect ratio because it is something hard. But I like the way that on this tool, you really can go ahead and take a look and see that. So I'm going to just bring that up a little bit.
18 by 14. But, just for, because it's
yeah, we're hitting on 8:09.
Yeah, I was wondering if we were gonna make it to 8 o'clock.
Yeah, I kind of figured we'd go a little long, so I'm gonna pop this in.
Can you maybe show people where they can, because you did an excellent session on all this and
Yes.
And maybe if you could show people where they can watch one of the previous sessions where you go into great detail with Geo Gallery.
Yeah, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys, if you go ahead and go to YouTube, right now we're on Geo Galleries, and if you can subscribe to us too, that would be great. Just go ahead and search FinerWorks if you want. And you'll get there to our channel. And if you want just on how to go ahead and add the inventory on here, you'll see that live Zoom here. I don't want to click it so it doesn't start the audio. Just click on this right here, live Zoom calling selling on Geo Galleries. And it has a detail on how to set up your inventory and change your pricing. When James was showing you inventory here, let me go ahead into really quick. When he went into the edit info, gonna add that in there. Where we're talking about on the title, here is the pricing. This pricing, you only have to worry about it only for Geo Galleries. You do not need it to apply to your Etsy, your Shopify. Don't worry about this, only applies for Geo Gallery customers. And you can set this here at up to 3 times the cost. And like I said, when you make that on here, it'll start to appear as an artist exclusive. And again, once I add 3 of these on here, 3 inventory items, that will make the additional purchases disappear. And then you'll have something a little, more kind of
a little bit more to what's for that piece.
Yeah. So you can see here, we've created paper prints, framed prints, and the canvas options here. Yeah. And that's pretty much Geo Galleries inventory in a quick nutshell. So again, and if you have questions, yeah, I'll actually in our Facebook, I'll go ahead and put that link into to that video for setting it all up, and I'll put it on our. It'll also be tied onto our page here when we have the video sitting here. So other than that, that's my quick nutshell of Geo Galleries. James, any other things that you wanted to talk about?
No, I think we probably better end it just because it's getting late and
it's time for second dinner.
so some of us slightly more aged people need to go to bed early.
Yeah.
It's getting past my bedtime. So.
Yeah. We'll get ready to close this up. So if anybody has questions, again, you can go ahead and just either email us, and you can go to the contact us. If it's on Geo Galleries, if you want to just go to the bottom of the Geo Galleries page to reach me, you can go through the contact us down here and set the form. And if you have something more on the FinerWorks inventory side, same thing, go find finerworks.com and contact us there, or customer care at finerworks.com. And we'll be glad to answer any additional questions. And with that, I guess we'll go ahead and sign off. Thanks for everybody for joining. James, thanks for going over inventory with us. We appreciate it.
Yeah, guys, if any of y'all have any questions, again, just email us. Let us know how we're doing on these Zoom sessions. This is still kind of new for us, so we're trying to have fun with it, trying to kind of wrap our heads around it too. So, but let us know anything that we could do better and make it more interesting. We do anticipate. I'm hoping next month we have the intent was never for me and Melissa to do all of these, but next month we do hope to have a guest speaker, I guess you could say, talking about, well, I don't want to say yet what, because we're actually between two guest speakers, and I'm not sure which one we'll go with first, but we do are hoping next month to have a guest speaker. So anyway, let us know. Y'all have a great night.